Hello and welcome to our Judson University webinar. This is the second webinar in our summer webinar series, 3 resume tips to help you land your next job. Thanks to everybody who's joined us so far. My name is Dave and I'm going to be moderating the conversation today. So just a quick setup of what we plan to talk about. We're going to have 2 Judson experts with us today. We'll introduce you to them in a little bit. And the point of this, again, is getting that insider knowledge about your resume. How can you strengthen that resume, show off your skills, help meet an employer's needs, and what we can do to help beef that up. And in particular, we'll also share how Judson can also help you in your career, not just with this resume help, but also how a Judson education can help you as you progress on your career path. So with that, I'm going to turn the time to our hosts today, Rachel Hammond and Amanda Sisarica, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Rachel, I'll start with you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Hammond. I am the Director of Career Services here at Judson University. Thanks for letting me join you today. Here at Judson, we provide a variety of career services to our students, and those services include resume consultations, job search help, mock interview experience, graduate school admittance coaching, connections with alumni in your industry and your field, virtual and in-person career fairs, networking opportunities, and strengths-based training and coaching. And one of the things that I love in particular about working at a smaller institution is that we have the ability to take an individualized approach with all of our students. Career Services has the ability to tailor our approach to meet the individual student needs depending on where the student is at in their professional journey. And so no day is the same because every student's just in a different spot in their professional journey, and it's a really, really fun place to be and to work. So thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Rachel. Amanda, let us get to know you a little better.
Oh, great. Well, thank you, David. So my name is Amanda Sisarica. I am the Associate Vice President for Campus Engagement. I've been working with Judson's Department of Professional Studies for the past almost 6 years now. And I love being part of a team that helps students find their passion and really achieve their goals. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Judson University, Judson is a private Christian institution whose main campus is located in Elgin, Illinois. In addition to offering traditional programs at our main campus, Judson also offers accelerated programs at both the Elgin and Rockford locations, as well as fully online. So now I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Rachel to get us started.
All right, so before Rachel gets started, just a quick note, we will have time for questions at the end of the webinar today. And so there's a Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. And so at any time, you can click on that icon and type in your question, and then we'll address it at the end. But you don't have to wait for the Q&A section to submit your question. You can submit it anytime you see something that you're curious about. And so with that, now, Rachel, I'll turn the time to you to get us started on your first tip to improving your resume.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so let's talk about resumes. I have yet to meet a student or an individual who actually enjoys working on a resume. So if it overwhelms you, you are not alone. One of the goals of Career Services here at Judson University is to make resume writing less intimidating for students by breaking it down into actionable steps. So this webinar is going to include 3 tips that will help you wherever you are at in your resume writing journey. So tip number 1 that we have is to keep your resume relevant. Most companies use something called an automated tracking system to filter through resumes. And actually over 75% of resumes will not be seen by the human eye, at least in the first round. And what these ATS programs are looking for are keywords in your resume. They determine whether you're qualified for the position based on how closely the terms you use match the keywords that recruiters are searching for. So it's very important to make your resume stand out by tailoring your experience to the job posting in these 3 steps. The first one is to look for keywords from the posting that you have personal experience with. And then the second step is to incorporate those keywords into your own resume. This might sound like a lot of work for every job opportunity that you are looking at, but if you think about it, the job posting has already done the heavy lifting for you by providing the language for you to use in your resume. Obviously, you want to communicate your actual skill set and not just what they are looking for. If they want AutoCAD drawing experience for architecture and you don't have that experience, you don't want to include that as a keyword in your resume. But if there are some things that they're looking for that you have, you want to tailor the language to fit the job description, because that's what the ATS will be searching for. I'm going to give you guys an example that I just pulled from the internet. Amazon right now is hiring in human resources. So their particular job posting states that they're looking for a dynamic, organized self-starter to join our human resources department as an HR business partner. The HR business partner is both a strategic and hands-on role. And it says a lot of other things, but we won't go into that whole job description. And so what we want to do is we want to pull a couple keywords from that job description. And the words I chose were self-starter and hands-on. Maybe those are particular skills that you already identify with, and maybe you already have verbiage in your resume that reflects that, but it's not those actual keywords. So maybe your resume already says that you're an initiator or you're an activator. Consider replacing those words with self-starter. Maybe you have things like I'm an active participant or hard worker in your resume. Consider replacing it with the key word from the job description as hands-on. Making those small changes will ensure that the ATS will pass your resume through to an actual human hiring manager. Step number 3 is to give examples of how your experience fits the hiring manager's needs. Using the Amazon example, you can detail how you've demonstrated self-starter and hands-on quality in your professional experience. Basically, these job descriptions are saying, we are looking for A, B, and C. You want your resume to say, hey, look at me, I am A, B, and C. So tailoring it to the job description is tip number 1, a very important tip. All right, we can go to the next slide, Dave, thanks. Okay, we want to make sure that we showcase our talents the right way. So this surprised me when I learned this, but employers look at resumes for an average of 6 seconds. That's why we recommend placing something called a career summary and objective at the top of your resume. This is basically your elevator sales pitch, and it's a short statement that communicates your experience and your ambitions. An example of this, and this one's kind of wordy, and yours doesn't have to look like this, but an example of this for a project manager position is analytical, highly adaptable project coordinator with 3+ years of experience, facing challenges enthusiastically to achieve consistent quality results. So that is the elevator pitch of this individual that's looking for a project manager position. Basically, it's saying, hey, look at me. I want you to keep on reading my resume. So it draws in those employers. You can Google summary statements for resumes and we'll get a lot of examples on how to write one. Something we use often here in career services is just Indeed.com or Monster.com. They typically have summary statements for each industry that you're looking to enter. And that really helps take some of the guesswork out of it. You can tailor it to your own experience. Okay, so next we're going to move to accomplishments, which is the same as your work experience or professional experience. The first question that you want to ask is, does my resume include a solid listing of my accomplishments? And if you've been working for a while, it might be overwhelming for you to pinpoint what experiences you should focus on. So what we recommend for students to do here in career services is we recommend that they write all of their accomplishments and professional experience on a separate Word document. And then when they look at a position that they're interested in or a job description, they can kind of pick and choose which ones of those descriptions or that work experience that they want to put on their resume so that they can, again, tailor it to that job description. Number 2, are my accomplishments quantified and measurable? So employers love numbers. They love measurable and quantifiable work experience with numbers and percentages. For example, let's say you worked as a plant manager. You can talk about how you budgeted to reduce overhead. Or if there was a project that you were involved in that increased employee engagement by 50%, don't be afraid to throw that in there. Hiring managers love to see measurable outcomes for the work that you've done. And chances are, you know, all of the work we do has measurable outcomes. You might have to dig a little and do a little math there, but it's worth it to put it on your resume. Okay, number 3, ask yourself the question, do my accomplishments statements begin with strong, varied action verbs? And it's incredible how the language and just the words we select on our resume make such a big difference in the impact with hiring managers. It's easy to want to write down the tasks that we do, such as, I held weekly status meetings to share client updates. Well, if we dress that up a little bit and we use strong varied action verbs, that statement could look like, I spearheaded weekly status meetings to communicate agency revenue growth. And again, Google is your friend when it comes to this. Indeed.com, Munster.com. If you just Google strong varied action verbs, you'll come up with a whole bunch of different verbiage that you can use to dress up your resume. Okay, if you're feeling super ambitious and this is getting a little in the weeds, we would recommend pairing the quantified accomplishments with verbs. So that's number 2 and 3 of showcasing your talents. If you do both, that shows that not only what you did, but the impact that it had. All right, we can move back to 3. Thanks. Okay, first impressions are huge when it comes to resumes. Remember that employers only look at resumes for an average of 6 seconds. We definitely want to pack out the top third of our resume with that summary and objective statement. Also, the automated tracking systems, ATS, that we talked about, they're pretty picky when it comes to different graphics that we have on our resume, when it comes to funky fonts. Even if you have a lot of different colors going on in your resume, oftentimes they push those to the wayside because something about the way that they program, they're not able to read that. So we recommend here at Judson Career Services that students start with Microsoft Word and that they're able to format using Word, and that is a lot more legible for the ATS. Okay, so you want to make sure your resume looks professional with a 3-step checklist. Number 1, review for careless typos, spelling, or grammar mistakes. Microsoft Word, if you use that, should correct a lot of this. We want to stay away from personal pronouns in resumes. So instead of saying, I conducted weekly meetings, you would say conducted weekly meetings. You would say it better than that because those aren't strong varied action verbs, but you get the point. We also recommend having at least 3 sets of human eyes looking at your resume once you have your first draft. So I pick a trusted colleague, a family member, a friend, and just have them just look through and make sure that there aren't grammatical errors, because after you work on your resume for a while, it might be easy to kind of pass over some of those things with your own eyes. Okay, number 2, use design elements like bullets, bolding, and lines to guide readers, highlight important content, and separate experiences. So you want to do what you can, again, in a way that will have it draw the employer in and keep them reading. So we want it to be organized and concise. Check your spacing, check the margins. Something that we do is we hold up our resume 3 to 5 feet away here in the office when we're looking at student resumes, and we ask them, does that look balanced? Does the spacing look good? So on and so forth. Okay, number 3, you want to avoid using excessive fonts and font sizes. So we actually recommend using no more than 2 fonts on a resume. Otherwise, the resume looks too complicated. Fonts that are more condensed and easier to read are Calibri, Times New Roman, and Arial. Those are the fonts that we recommend for our students to use. You want to pack in as much as you can to that resume, so using those condensed professional fonts will really help you out in the long run. Okay, so that's my spiel. That probably feels like resume overload, but these are some helpful tips to consider. Resumes are a lot of hard work, but with a rewarding job on the other end, they are worth doing right. So thanks for giving me the opportunity to share just a glimpse of what career services at Judson University can do for you. And I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, our Associate Vice President of Campus Engagement. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you so much for those tips too. So I'd love to talk a little bit about education and job growth. So I really love this quote by Warren Buffett. The best investment you can make is in yourself. The more you learn, the more you earn. Education really can open up the door to new opportunities, to advancement, and to better paying jobs. It all depends on what your personal and professional goals are, and that's where we can help. So at Judson, we have been educating non-traditional students since 1994. So that's more than 25 years. We actually had a party a few years ago. It was a great event. We offer programs that have been created specifically for busy adults. So whether you're working full-time, if you're caring for a family, or looking for a way to advance in your career, we have something for you. We offer flexibility. Campus classes are only one night a week, and online classes are from the convenience of your home. So classes are taken one at a time, which really allows you to balance both school and life responsibilities. So we really do have a program for everyone. We offer an Associate of Arts for those who are just getting started in higher education, whether you've never attended school or only completed a few courses. And this program is really a great stepping stone to a bachelor's degree. We also offer bachelor's degrees in the areas of business, leadership, and the human sciences. And at the master's level, we offer 4 degrees with programs including organizational leadership, human services administration, mental clinical health counseling, which actually allows you to become and sit for your test to be a licensed practitioner, as well as an MBA. So that's what we offer at Judson University. We would love to tell you more about that. And adding a degree to your resume to kind of wrap up what we've been talking about here. When you add that degree, which includes all of the skills and the knowledge that come with that accomplishment, it's a great way to help advance your career and land your next job. So with that, thank you so much for letting us be here, and I would love to turn it back over to David for some Q&A.
Yeah, that's right. And so if you joined us a little bit late, that's just fine. You can click the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen, and you can type in your question there about anything that you've seen so far today. We've got some questions already. They're resume related. So Rachel, I'm gonna start with you. So you talked about kind of condensed fonts and trying to pack in as much as you can. The first question that I see is, can my resume be more than 1 page long? So Rachel, what would you have to say to that?
That's a great question, and we get that a lot. Yes, absolutely. Especially people with more work experience. If you've been on the workforce for a long time, your resume is going to be longer, and you don't want to miss out on any of that deliverable content in your resume. You want to make sure that you can highlight the things that you've done. So absolutely, it can be more than 1 page. Now, we recommend not going over 2 pages, but yeah, definitely more than 1 page. Great question.
Okay, that's great. I'm seeing another question here that asks, I have an employment gap on my resume. How should I handle that? What would you advise in that case, Rachel?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say most employers would probably ask about that in some kind of interview. And we just encourage students and professionals just to be honest and kind of explain that employment gap. Most people do have an employment gap in their resume. You're not alone. And it definitely is not something that turns off employers.
Great, that's great insight. Thank you. I've seen a question from Na. Na asks, how far back do I need to include my work experience? And so what would you say to that, Rachel?
That's a great question. I think you should include as far back as it goes, to be honest. And condense, maybe the stuff that's way in the past, and continue to highlight your more recent work experience. especially tailoring it to whatever job that you're applying for. But if you've been on the workforce for 40 years, I think your resume should account for all 40 years. Employers want to see that.
All right,
Great question.
All right, that's great. Thanks, Na, for that, and hopefully that was helpful for you. All right, so Rachel, we're going to do a little bit of a lightning round because I've got questions about kind of what, a handful of things should or should I not include these on my resume. So I'll just kind of take them one at a time. So should I include an objective on my resume or an about me section? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so maybe not about me, but that summary statement, kind of the elevator pitch, should include an objective. So yes to that. Absolutely.
All right. Next up, volunteer experience. Yes or no on a resume?
Yes, absolutely. We would say maybe that should be towards the end of your resume, but absolutely volunteer experience is a big deal for employers. They want to see that the people that they're hiring are well-rounded and contribute to the world.
All right. What about a college GPA? Yes or no?
No, that's not necessary. Now, I do have to say, if you have a high college GPA or if you have academic achievements or awards because of your GPA, if you're part of like an honor society, absolutely include that.
All right. And so do you need to go all the way back to high school? Is college enough? What would you recommend in that case?
For GPA?
Or just even the name of the high school or something?
You don't need to include high school, no.
All right, good deal. In terms of ordering a resume, would you recommend education first and then work experience or vice versa?
So that's a great question, and it really depends on where you're at in your educational journey. For a lot of our students that are here that are going for a bachelor's, we actually have them highlight certain courses that they've taken towards the top of their resume to show that they're being trained and prepared for that specific job or industry. And so I would say it depends where you're at. If you're maybe like 15 years out, then no.
Okay, all right, good to know. All right, another one. Should I include interests and hobbies on my resume? What would you say to that?
I would say no.
Okay, not relevant, not necessarily as eye-catching as maybe some of those action verbs and that job description sorts of things would be. Okay. Anything else in terms of kind of categories or anything else that we haven't already talked about that you get asked a lot in terms of should I include this or that, or do you feel like we've kind of covered all the main questions that you get in terms of yes or no, should I include this?
Yeah, I think it's just important to remember that the top third of your resume is typically what employers look at for those 6 seconds. And so you want to pack as much in there that's appealing to keep them wanting to read.
Okay, that sounds great. So Rachel and Amanda, I don't see any other questions in the Q&A or in the chat. And so I'll just give this kind of just give each of you the floor for just a little bit longer. Just anything else besides what we've already talked about in terms of what makes Judson University a great place for people to get that education that they need to help take that next career step. So Rachel, I'll start with you, and then Amanda, just anything else to add that we haven't already talked about.
Sure. Well, again, I just want to reiterate the individualized approach that we take in career services, but it's not just in career services, it's the whole university. And so along with the small classroom sizes and the personalized attention you get from faculty, there's just a whole support network here for wherever you're at in your journey, wherever you're at in your life, to come alongside you as you accomplish these academic and professional goals. And so I can say this with confidence about the whole university. I was a student here way back when. I have a background in student life, so I've seen it over there. And I can just say it's a very supportive and personalized environment.
Awesome, that's great. Amanda, anything else to add from your point of
just
view?
to tag on to the end of what Rachel said, it's a great place for people to come together. It's taught from a Christian perspective, but you have people from all walks of life that are coming together, sharing their experience, learning together, and really building something for their future. And people come for all kinds of reasons, whether that's advancing in their career, whether that's changing their career totally, whether that's creating opportunities for themselves and their family. It's really a great place to come and learn and be. So, yep, I just want to reiterate what Rachel said, and we're so grateful to be part of such a wonderful institution, and we're just glad to be here.
All right, Rachel and Amanda, thanks so much for your time, and thanks for all your time out there, all you who have joined us today. So just one last thing before we go. Judson enrollment and admissions and everything is continuing even in the midst of everything that's going on. And so right now classes are scheduled to start as soon as August 10th. And so if you're interested in attending Judson and taking that Judson education and helping it move you forward in your career, give us a call, 888-460-9235. You're also welcome to join us in our next webinar. This is a weekly summer webinar series. And so next week, we'll be talking a little bit more about jobs. In this case, we'll be talking about crushing your next interview. So that is next week on August 5th. We also have a website where you can view past webinars. This is the second one of the series, and we got a lot more coming up. So you can view past webinars and register for future ones. That's at judsondegree.com/webinars. And so once again, Rachel, Amanda, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your expertise with us. Thanks to all of our attendees for being part of us. Thank you for the privilege of your time. We hope you have a good rest of your day and week, and please stay safe. Take care, everybody.